have to deal with them anymore. So, or with it anymore. So being on the internet, I really don't want to have to deal with anything terrestrial when I'm on the net, you know? Who wants to? Really, there shouldn't be any oversight at all of the internet when it comes right down to it, aside from a privatized oversight of some sort. Now, of course, if you break the law, then that's a whole nother story. But if we're talking about just oversight, regulations, whatever, really the government should have nothing at all to say about it. And unfortunately, a few months ago, this thing called net neutrality got passed, and it's not a new thing. It's not a new idea either. Net neutrality has been around for forever, basically. It's nothing new at all. The thing about it, though, is it's yet another intrusion into our internet lives, and annoyingly enough, quite a few people supported it, even on the internet savvy side, which was kind of odd. People, unfortunately, had the idea that the internet being regulated by the FCC would lead to a more fair experience when using the internet. That's kind of not true, though. It seems like it just opens the door to cronyism more than anything. You see, net neutrality was originally designed for just that, neutrality, right? I mean, it's for the government systems to regulate the internet so that no company has a better shot than another company, which totally negates the whole business aspect of, business, but whatever. The problem was, and this is where the big controversy started really, was ISPs were charging Netflix quite a lot of money because Netflix used quite a lot of bandwidth. And for some reason, the ISPs were fine with that, of course, and Netflix was not. And so Netflix was complaining about it, and then the FCC got involved and said, hey, we should propose net neutrality, which would mean that you don't have to pay more money for preferred service. And the ISPs and the Netflix had proposed a thing called a sort of a direct pipeline, basically to you, the consumer, so that you would get better service from Netflix and it wouldn't be throttled by the ISP. The problem is Netflix uses up something like 48, I think, percent of the bandwidth that we use. That's a huge amount, by the way, for a company so young as Netflix. So it was really understandable that the ISPs were charging Netflix more money. It just made sense, especially from a business aspect. I mean, it's costing the ISPs money, so it would make sense that they would charge them more. So that was why I was against net neutrality, is that it made no sense at all. It was government trying to get into the business aspect of the internet. It was businesses trying to let the government do business for these businesses. It really just made no sense. It was businesses being lazy in a lot of respects, because businesses can do business and businesses should do business, and government should have nothing to do with that. Unfortunately, net neutrality being passed meant that the government has more to do with business than it previously did, and really government should have nothing at all to do with business. That's my take on it anyway. And unfortunately, there are some people who are trying to skew that into another angle that's a little bit different from mine. There are people who are against net neutrality for a lot different reasons, and that's where things start to get very, very, very annoying. I hate it so much when a viewpoint that's very, very well thought out gets hijacked by somebody who's just really annoying. And that happened this time. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Dianne Feinstein. I am, because I read into gun laws and that sort of thing. Dianne Feinstein is a Democrat from California. She's very much outspoken when it comes to gun control, and she's been very much outspoken when it comes to surveillance and security, so-called national security, especially. And that's where things start to get really stupid, because then we start talking about national security, and national security is a whole big topic that just drives me nuts, because people will use that as an excuse to get away with basically anything. Well, according to The Verge, in a remarkable feat, internet providers have apparently succeeded in making net neutrality about terrorism. Yeah. In a newly published letter delivered to the Federal Communications Commission in May, Senator Dianne Feinstein, who's of course a Democrat from California, she's a senator, raised concerns that the new net neutrality rules might be used to shield terrorists. In particular, Feinstein was concerned that Yohar Tsarnaev had studied bomb-making materials on the internet, specifically online copies of AQAP's Inspire magazine, and that many broadband providers had complained to her that net neutrality rules would prevent them from honoring any orders to block that content. Now, whether or not any service providers actually complained to Dianne Feinstein, or it was a friend of hers who happened to work with a ISP, said, boy, it could be that we won't be able to block this content thanks to net neutrality. I don't know what the case is, and we'll probably never know. There's not any documentation of anyone complaining about this. So as it is, it's just her word saying what it's going to say. Basically, it's just Dianne Feinstein saying what she's going to say. And Inspire magazine, in case you're not familiar, is it's a magazine that's often linked to radical Islam. People say that it inspires, hence the name, people to commit terrorist acts. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But nevertheless, people are very upset about Inspire magazine, and people tend to forget the First Amendment. It's quite a bind, of course, and in the letter, Feinstein entreats FCC chair, I should say, Tom Wheeler, to assure providers that this is not true. The Senate does acknowledge that there are laws against material support for terrorism, and Title II only applies for legal web traffic. But nonetheless, she says, there's apparently confusion among at least some broadband providers on whether they may take such actions in order to promote national security and law enforcement purposes. Now, I don't like national security and I don't like law enforcement, so these are two things that are very personal to me. Now, the thing with this, though, that drives me nuts is that it's hijacking a narrative and inserting your own narrative into it, essentially kind of like what happened with Occupy Wall Street, which originally started very not what it turned out to be. We'll put it that way. It sort of got hijacked by the people who were trying to occupy, and it got to be very, very annoying. But the thing with this whole argument is that it turns a legit argument into something that's totally nonsense with the whole anti-terrorism aspect. And this is not about terrorism. Obviously, this is about control. It's about control because you're taking the argument for net neutrality, which was well-meaning, although misguided, and turning it into something about terrorism, which makes no sense whatsoever. What does terrorism have to do with, say, freedom of speech? What does terrorism have to do with controlling the internet? Really at all. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Well, at least when you try to look at it logically. These people don't use logic, they use emotion, and they play on your emotion to make you think the way they want you to think. And somebody by the name of Jello Biafra, who is the lead singer for the Dead Kennedys, had very choice words for Dianne Feinstein. And Jello Biafra, by the way, is not by any means what you call, a Tea Party patriot or whatever, which just goes to show that hatred of the political process crosses party lines. And he had this brilliant thing to say, and I thought it was so funny. I just have to play it for you.
So this song is dedicated to Dianne Banker Margaret Thatcher Feinstein, the dragon lady with no heart.
It's just so good. And then he transitions from that into Police Truck by the Dead Kennedys. It's so great because everybody hates Dianne Feinstein. Nobody likes Dianne Feinstein, and yet somehow she keeps getting into office, and it doesn't really make any sense. Now, Dianne Feinstein, of course, has been a pusher of feminist issues, has been a pusher of gun control issues. She's been a pusher of national security as well, which is really an annoying topic because, again, national security is such a broad thing, and nobody can really determine or decide what national security actually is, what is securing the nation, how should we secure the nation, all these different arguments, and nobody can really decide on what to do. Very, very annoying. She's also a strong proponent of the FISA courts. Yeah, and the whole NSA thing, where she thinks for some odd reason that the NSA is cool and hip and for the kids, and that we should continue spying on Americans. Ouch. Yeah, it seems kind of odd, though, that she's making an argument against net neutrality. I'm not sure where that one comes from. I guess she's being paid off by the ISPs, maybe? I don't know. It's just obnoxious is the best way to describe it because it drives me nuts how people actually pay attention to her and people care what she says. I mean, think about it. I was thinking about this the other day, actually, how we keep talking about leadership and how we leaders and we need to respect our leaders and all this nonsense. Who leads us, really? I mean, think about it. Who leads us? I'm not led by anybody in government because I don't care what they say. Think about it this way. If your mayor, right, like say, what's his name? Who's the mayor of Chattanooga now? Andy Burke walked in the office right now and he told me to do something. I'd just say, no, I'm not going to do that. What are you talking about? Get out of here. Andy Burke doesn't have any authority over me. So, well, plus because I'm a Georgian, but even so, if Nathan Deal walked in, governor of Georgia, and told me to do something, I don't have to do what he says because he's not my leader, actually. I don't have to do anything he says. Now, it'd be a little bit different if the sheriff walked in and gave me a lawful order. But still, if he gave me an unlawful order, I don't have to do what he says. Plus, I'm in federally controlled territory, and I still don't have to do what he says right now. So it doesn't really matter to me. These, elected officials, they're not really leaders. They're just people who pass laws. They're not leaders in any way. Like the president. If the president, Barack Obama, walks in, friggin' the ghost of Ronald Reagan walks in, I don't have to do anything he says because he's not my leader. He doesn't lead me. I don't care. See, they don't have any power over us, the individuals. They have power when it comes to governmental systems, sure, but when it comes to us individuals, they have no power whatsoever. Again, the president could walk in and tell me to do something. I don't have to do what he says. The director of national security or John Brennan could walk in and say, hey, do 50 push-ups. I said, what are you doing? Get out of here. I don't have to do what you say. Individuals have so much more power than people in government. And that's something that has to be immediately understood, because we're on a downward spiral and there's not really any stopping it at this point. But for some reason, people have ingrained in their heads this odd reverence for leadership that makes no sense whatsoever, because when you think about it, it really is nonsensical. Because why should we rely on other people to get jobs done for us? Why don't we rely on ourselves to get things done for us? I heard this really interesting saying the other day. There's a guy who has a concealed carry weapons permit. He homeschools his kids, and he has a land permit, or rather a land patent, and he's self-sufficient. He doesn't need government. He doesn't need the state. There are individuals who do not need the state. Now, there are some who are dependents of the state. Yeah, I mean, if you're on welfare, Social Security, you're pulling money from the government, then you actually kind of do need the state. But that's an unfortunate circumstance of the situation that we're in today. Most people should not need the state. And that's the hole we've dug ourselves into, where we think that we need the state. And that's where things start to get kind of hairy, because there are some people who truly do not. They really don't need the state, but the state is forced upon them anyway. And that's where things start to get, again, hairy, because now we have this whole caste system of people who truly believe they need the state. And it's so ingrained into their heads. I need the state. I need the state because otherwise this or that would happen. Ooh, the Chinese would invade, or ooh, the Mexicans would take over, or ooh, this or that would happen. Ooh, there'd be economic collapse, which is going to happen, state or not. Oh, there's going to be societal collapse because look at how many degenerates there are. Well, yeah, it's going to happen anyway because society is crap, and it always is. So what are you going to do? You don't need the state. I don't need the state to live. I don't need the state to keep me safe because it doesn't do a very good job of it. So what do I need the state for? And then you suddenly realize, wait, I don't need the state. So why is it there? Why is the state there? I don't need it. Well, it's because there's money being drawn from it. Many corporations are making tons and tons of money off of the state. I mean, why do we go to war? Because corporations make tons of money off of that. The military-industrial complex. You think Lockheed Martin says, no, don't go to war. Please don't. No, it doesn't work that way. What do you think Boeing says? Oh, no, don't manufacture more F-16s. Please don't do that. It doesn't work that way. So there's tons of money being made off of lots of immoral activity that's carried out by, well, the government, the state. Again, you can't have a state without atrocities, and we're continually seeing that. And for some odd reason, nobody really wants to admit that. And that's what's driving me sort of crazy about the whole reverence for our leadership thing. Oh, respect our leaders, value our leaders, look who they are. I didn't vote for them. I don't want them. I don't need them. So what's with the whole reverence thing, really? Because I don't need them. I don't want them. I didn't vote for them. It's the tyranny of the majority. Because now you have the 41% who didn't vote against or didn't vote for, say, the current president or the current mayor or your current congressman. So really, these people have no say in what goes on in government. It's even though they may actually make up even a majority, sometimes they have no say in what happens, even though their guy didn't get in office and the other parties did. So now you have the tyranny of the majority, and democracy can almost be the worst tyranny ever when it comes down to it, because you still have a state and you still have a leader who's been put in by the majority, even though it's 51% versus 50. You see what I mean? Or 51% versus 49. You get all these problems, and it leads to a tyranny of the majority. And that's not really the ideal system, and it's not really one that works either. Think about it this way too. Our system is also set up that it's set up to not work the way it works now. So there's all these different loopholes that have to be used. I mean, the Constitution is still there. It hasn't changed for 200 something years now. 230, 40 something years now since 1776. So it's changed not really at all. In fact, it has not changed at all. Constitution is exactly the same as it has been. We still have precisely the same rules for government that have been there since the Constitution was ratified in the 1770s or 80s, I wanted to say. So we still have the same rules that apply. Yet still, how do they keep getting around it? Well, because the state has no use for those rules. The state finds loopholes. The state lives in a sense and a state of lawlessness. The state is essentially lawless. at this point. And it's unfortunate, but people don't realize that because they have such a reverence for these laws and things that they think are laws that actually are not. And it leads to a system where people are almost willfully and sometimes very much willfully oppressed, and they don't even realize it because, again, they put this reverence on individuals. That's how you have people like Dianne Feinstein who keeps doing these things, and they say, well, even if you disagree with her, you have to respect her because she's an elected official. Why? I didn't elect her. I didn't vote for her. Some other guy did. I don't like Dianne Feinstein. Same goes for, say, I don't like Lamar Alexander. I didn't vote for the guy. I can't vote for the guy. I don't even live here. I don't live in Tennessee. I live in Georgia. I'm pretty happy with the people who are elected in Georgia, by the way. But just as an example, say I don't like Lamar Alexander and I do live in Georgia, or I do live in Tennessee, pardon, and I voted against him. But he's in office and he's making decisions, and I can't do anything about that because I voted against him. So what do? Well, they say, oh, you voted, so you can't complain. Well, actually, I would say that or rather the big narrative is that you didn't vote, so you can't complain. But really, you did vote, so you can't complain. Think about it this way. You voted, so now you have voluntarily accepted that if you lose, you accept all consequence for having lost, because now your decision means essentially nothing. You've given up all right to opinion at that point, because now you say, well, I lost, my candidate didn't win, so I have to ride the wave, and basically you've no right to complain against the guy who won because you lost. It's like complaining that you lost a game. You lost the game. That's it. You can't change that. You can try again next time, but you lost the game. Well, those of us who don't vote realize that the game is just that. It's a game. The voting system doesn't actually work, and it doesn't actually function very well at all. So we have no stock in that. I don't care who wins an election. It makes no difference to me because I know these people have no power over me. Because what, you think the president's going to walk in and tell me what to do? Of course not. I don't care what he says. Well, you think Lamar Alexander's going to walk in and tell me what to do? You think Sheriff Jim Hammond's going to walk in this door and tell me what to do? You think that the mayor, Andy Burke, is going to walk through that door and he's going to tell me what to do? No, this is my house. You don't tell me what to do in here. No, this is my territory, my turf. Nobody tells me what to do when I'm in here. It doesn't work that way, right? So I'm not going to let some elected official who I didn't even vote for, sometimes because I can't, I didn't even vote for, tell me what to do. It doesn't work that way. So I have no reverence for the so-called leadership that we're having here in these fine United States. That's the thing too, is people will talk about how, oh, you're so negative. Why are you so negative all the time about this country? I'm not really negative about the country. I think America's awesome. America's a great place to live. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else except for maybe Canada. America's a great place to live. It's just that the state is terrible. And that's true anywhere. I mean, it's like, I'm not going to bash, I'm not going to bash Russia because Russia's government is all whacked. I mean, yeah, government's always whacked, but the actual locale and the people there seem to be kind of cool. The same goes for like Brazil or Mexico or any other place you want to talk about. I mean, yeah, government's always terrible. States are always terrible, but the people there and the terrain and the view and everything else is fine. So I'm not bashing America. I'm bashing the United States, you might say, because I'm bashing the governmental system, but the country itself and the people who are in it are actually kind of cool. And that's the problem, is I'm not being negative about the actual country. I'm being negative about the state. Caller, what's up? You're on.
Russell, I know you're a young guy. Just let me tell you, you're going to hear it for the rest of your life. Why are you so negative?
I know.
Why don't you just, and people don't realize that it's guys like you that keep these politicians off the back of the average Americans and semi-free. I can tell you in the 80s, I would go into court fighting a political battle, and in some instances, the judge would refuse to let me argue, saying I needed an attorney. I'm like, well, okay, so the Sixth Amendment to the Constitution has been suspended. I had to thank them. So a lot of people have their freedoms because not only of our military personnel, but guys like you holding these politicians' feet to the fire. So they can say, well, you know what, if you didn't vote, you can't complain, or you voted for him, I can't. They don't realize that without you speaking out and without people going to court and writing letters and doing what they do, these stupid, fat, lazy, jackass Americans that don't care, that just want to drink their beer and watch their and play video games and watch the reality shows and enjoy the privileges of freedom, they have no clues what it takes to maintain that freedom generation after generation.
Got to cut you off, sorry.
Me tell you
this is the modern world. What kind of fool do you think I am? You think I know nothing of
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Sky Aerial Services uses advanced drone technology to give you a better perspective and depth of your property and project. We offer aerial photography and video for your business, farm, home, or advertising campaigns, as well as editing services to complete the experience. Call us at 423-521-0284 and see how we can help you tell your story about your business, property, or project. We work with real estate professionals, both commercial and residential, developers, engineer inspectors, surveyors, ad agencies, auto and boat dealers, mapping services, insurance inspectors, corporate marketing, charity events, weddings, and photographers. Our consultation is free. Call 423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284, or visit our website, skyaerialservices.com. Sky Aerial Services. The sky is our limit.
1240.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
You feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts, Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducts. Call now.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hi, I'm David Tulis, inviting you to make the move with me 9 to 11 a.m. weekdays here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. The David Tulis Show.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. The Pentagon sending 200 active duty military to fight fires scorching parts of the West.
The closest season to this in recent memory would have been the 2007 season, but this one certainly looks like it's going to even exceed that one.
Dan Smith, fire director of the National Association of State Foresters, a milestone for women in the Army.
2 women will be among 96 graduates of the Ranger School in a ceremony Friday at Fort Benning, Georgia. It marks the first time women have completed the Army's premier combat leadership course. The grueling 62-day program teaches students how to operate in woodlands, mountainous terrain, and coastal swamps. 400 men and women in uniform began the Ranger course 4 months ago.
Fox Radio Steve Rappaport. And Danica Patrick has a new deal to drive for Stewart Haas Racing and a new NASCAR sponsor, Nature's Bakery. Fox News. We report. You decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It's no secret that I'm no fan of future president of the United States, Donald Trump. And he's been doing an interesting, I want you to call it maybe a counterintelligence campaign or something. He's been doing this odd thing that is actually not new, but it's really funny. He's been doing this thing where you buy up a domain, right? And then you just buy these domains to sit on them. Basically, it's like cyber squatting except legal. And what you do is, let's say let's put this into perspective. I got to slow down here. Let's get my heart rate down. Ooh, okay. Got to do my yoga. I'm doing a crane pose right now. Okay. So what we do is, let's say I'm running for office and I'm a tech savvy kind of guy. I mean, we all know that. And I'm running for office and I want to make sure that people don't come out with a website that says RussellStroudSucks.com I don't want that. So I register RussellStroudSucks.com. That's my website now. So you can't register that, so that when you're doing your campaign, you register RussellStroudSucks.com, and then it has a bunch of anti-me, I guess, propaganda. So I would buy that domain to ensure that you don't propagandize against me, even though, of course, I completely believe in free speech, and you can say whatever you like about me, and you can disagree with me as much as you'd like, and I would wholeheartedly approve of that. But I don't want that to be getting around. I mean, Photoshop pictures of me, that's no thanks. So I register that domain to make sure that you don't do that to me. That's basically exactly precisely what Donald Trump is doing now. Future president of the United States, Donald Trump, I should say. So can you believe, according to The Verge, that Donald Trump did not register some of these domains, however? So The Verge says, if you're a man like Donald Trump, a huge figure in business, reality TV, and suddenly now politics, although it's not as sudden. You may remember back in, when was it, 2011, Donald Trump actually was running, well, sort of running for president in the 2012 elections. So this is, again, nothing new. But anyway, last week, The Verge found out that Donald Trump has been registering thousands of domains. Yes, thousands of domain names. Again, that's any .com you want. So that's like, say, Walmart.com is a domain. Google.com is a domain name, right? Any other domain you want. Amazon.com is a domain name. HotNewsTalkRadio.com is a domain name. And you should go there, definitely. HotNewsTalkRadio.com is where you can listen to us streaming live over the net. HotNewsTalkRadio.com. You can also download the TuneIn Radio app for your smartphone, and you can listen to us that way as well. Just download the TuneIn Radio app for your Android phone, your iPhone, Windows Phone, BlackBerry, heaven help you, and you can listen to us on the TuneIn Radio app streaming live that way. Man, what happened to Research in Motion with the BlackBerry stuff? That was just, man, they were so good, and then just suddenly so flat. I don't know. I hope they come out with a good handset soon. Anyway, Trump has been registering literally thousands of domain names, including some negative ones like voteagainsttrump.com, which is very hard to say. Voteagainsttrump.com. But despite his vast wealth, billions of dollars, Trump has actually failed to register quite a few scandalous sites. So here are a few of the names that The Verge could find. Literally, I'm not kidding. www.donaldinvitedmetopoker but never called me back.xxx. .xxx, by the way, is a domain name or a domain area. I can't remember what they call it. It's a high-level domain, I think, that's usually registered to porn sites. So .xxx is a domain that's generally registered to porn sites. However, you can register www.donaldinvitedmetopoker but never called me back.xxx if you want to, presuming it's not yet taken. It probably has a placeholder site on it right now. But yes, it's true. Donald Trump has actually been buying up tons and tons of domains and using them so that you can't use them. So Donald Trump sucks, vote against Donald Trump, and 20 other websites that Donald Trump will not let you buy, according to The Verge. So yeah, the best defense on the internet is a good offense. And according to a report from Business Insider, the Trump organization has an aggressive offensive strategy. The company has registered, now I'm not kidding, 3,153 web addresses. And Trump's son, Eric Trump, the executive vice president of development and acquisition at the Trump organization, claims that the company owns tens of thousands of additional URLs. Now, I don't know if that's true, because tens of thousands of additional URLs, it seems, would cost quite a bit of money. But still, hey, why not? The interview at the Business Insider, along with the complete list of URLs, are a must-read, but the writer of the article wants to highlight just a few, one of which is downloadthedonald.com. Yes, I'm serious. Downloadthedonald.com is a site that Donald Trump himself bought. TrumpGameMobile.com, in case somebody wants to create a mobile game of Donald Trump, perhaps where you run around trying to find your toupee. TrumpVerseSpace.com. I don't know what that is. Triumpher. I don't know what that is meant for either. YourFiredVodka.com. I'm not kidding. DonaldTrumpCrystalGifts.com, in case you have your hippie new age friend who thinks quartz crystals give him power and let him resonate at a certain frequency. He registered this one so that you can't buy Donald Trump branded crystals, so that your friend can't resonate at the same frequency as Donald Trump. TrumpBaths.com, TrumpOnTheRocks.com, And of course, voteagainsttrump.com, because that one is so brilliantly simple. TheTrumpFollies.com, which sounds like a 1910s silent film about Donald Trump on the campaign trail where he meets up with Charlie Chaplin and the Marx Brothers. TrumpHistory.com, in case Donald Trump does not want you to know about the history of Donald Trump dating back to 1902. TrumpAngels.com, NewTrumpNetwork.com, TrumpNetworkPonziScheme.com. No kidding. TrumpNetworkFraud.com. It's all one word, so it's hard to tell. PlayDonald.com. So Donald Trump does not want you to play Donald. TrumpDoll.com. These are all domains that Donald Trump himself, or at least people representing Donald Trump, have registered so that you cannot. Yeah, I'm not kidding. That is real. And it's crazy. So this is part of a common theme. I'm serious. It's very, very common. There was Walmart.donkey, you might remember, that got the guy who created it in a bunch of trouble. And there's all sorts of different domains that you can register in so that other people don't. Politicians love to do that. Like, as an example, you can tell if and when a company registers a domain, you can use that usually to determine whether or not they're going to come out with a product. Like Valve registered Half-Life3.com, which is probably a bad example, actually, because Half-Life 3 I don't think is ever going to come out, unfortunately. Nintendo, of course, has like Mario.com, and like Walmart probably has SamsClub.com, that sort of thing. So you you'll register different domains so that other people can't. This is very, very common with different political campaigns, but it's always funny to see what they register. Like, I remember the Bush campaign was really funny with some of the domains that they registered. And the Trump campaign is no less funny, because I can't believe some of the domains that have been registered. There's like 3,500 of them. I haven't read through all of them yet. I'm still working on it. But it's astoundingly funny. It's like a comedy bit, kind of like Donald Trump's campaign, actually. It's just like a comedy bit. You're reading about all this stuff he does, and you're like, there's no way that he's serious. But he is. And it's just like, how does that work? How is Donald Trump serious? And he is, and he's actually running for president, and people actually support him. People actually want to vote for him. That's like wanting to vote for like the Taco Bell Chihuahua, Kiro Taco Bell, and he's running for president. And people go, I stand behind his policy on immigration, and they vote for that. I mean, gosh, why not? I mean, I think honestly people are voting more for the toupee than for anything, but it just gets to a point where it's almost ridiculous, the things people will vote for. By the way, if you want to call in, the number's 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949 if you want to dial into the studio and yell at me and tell me that Donald Trump is the best candidate and he has a concise and totally workable plan for the border, which he does not. 423-800-8949. Now, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, because I'm not, but the Second Life was a thing back in early mid-2000s. A Second Life was sort of like a social network, but it was also kind of like a game all rolled into one. You could do all sorts of cool stuff in Second Life. It was a game, sort of, and it had its own currency called Linden Dollars, which I posit was one of the first cryptocurrencies, by the way. Had its own currency called Linden Dollars that actually had a link to Dollars, which sounds like a rapper, Dollar. I need to register that domain quick, $raps.com. Anyway, Second Life was a really, really kind of cool thing, and it was almost a cultural phenomenon. And it was like you could live in this other world. It was very like Matrix, cyberspace, cyberpunk sort of thing. Well, now we have a new technology, virtual reality, right? So you can strap on your VR goggles and play another game that's sort of like Second Life. According to The Verge, there's a Second Life successor, and it's inviting its first testers now. The creator of Second Life, Linden Labs, has created a virtual reality platform, and they're calling it Project Sansar, which I think was a ancient god in like Mesopotamia, but I don't remember. Project Sansar is the working title for a new VR world that's expected to open in public beta next year. So early development right now. Second Life, which maintained a core group of devoted users and a steady economy even after fading from public view, was a virtual world in its own right, not just one that was meant to be experienced through a headset. Although Linden hacked in Second Life support for the Oculus Rift development kits last year, the long-term support plan has always been to create a totally new VR native network to run alongside the older platform. That was revealed earlier this week, or rather this year, as Project Sansar, which is being touted as not just a world, but a WordPress for VR. Linden Lab has described it as infrastructure that will let users create their own VR experiences, again, virtual reality experiences, and visit other people's. So today, Linden Lab says that it's inviting a small number of people to kickstart that process. Beyond that, the scant details suggest that Project Sansar is still an early state as of now. The company spokesperson says that the first testers are talented 3D content creators. Of course they say that. And Linden Lab knows well. So they could indicate that it's drawing from the pool of Second Life architects and designers from back in the day. For now, Project Sansar does not have its own building tools, so they'll be using the Maya modeling software and exporting the results into the game, something that's also pretty common in Second Life. The final release is supposed to have its own tools and support a variety of third-party software. Project Sansar's first visitors are mostly testing very, very basic functionality like walking around and looking around, basically. So more members are going to be added over the course of 2015 to this world, and a beta version is expected to launch alongside the consumer Oculus Rift headset. There is not a consumer headset yet. It hasn't been released. Like, you can get a dev kit, but you can't get like the the like full consumer release. As of now, Oculus Rift is a VR headset. It's really cool. Different different game, I forget words sometimes, different game support functionality for it right now. Basically, it makes you feel like you are in the game world, and you can look around, and it has motion tracking, and your character will look around along with you, and it's really neat. I mean, the effect is very good. It's just that it's not consumerish enough yet. I hate using that word consumerish because it seems so barcode. It seems so UPC when we're talking about consumer. Ooh, the consumer. That seems so like dystopian when we're talking about the consumer, because I picture people who are born and they have like barcodes tattooed on them, and the whatever mark of the beast thing or whatever, and they get cranked out of some awful machine where they were in vitro fertilized and grown, and they pop out of this machine, and as soon as they do, they go and buy things with the starter funds that have been granted to them by some conglomerate. It just seems so barcode. I don't like the word consumer. So there's not a customer version yet. There's not like a general public version of the Oculus Rift as of yet. But until there is, we're stuck with the dev kits, which are very, very impressive. Dev kit, by the way, is developer kit. So it's for people who are designing the games and such to make these dev kits, and you wear them, and it's neat and it's cool. It's just not quite there yet. So once the customer release comes out, then we'll have real true VR for the layman. Will it pick up? Will it take off? I don't know. There's stiff competition already from Microsoft HoloLens, which appears to be coming out roughly the same time, so we'll have to see how that goes. By the way, Microsoft HoloLens is something that has to be experienced or at least watched on YouTube. Definitely check out Microsoft HoloLens on YouTube. I cannot express enough how cool it is. It's so immersive. I can't wait to get my hands on one. Hopefully Microsoft will send me one so I don't have to shell out a few $1,000s for one, or however much it's supposed to cost. So hopefully Microsoft will send me a review copy of it. I've already sent a letter to them asking for one, so maybe I'll actually get one. We'll just have to wait and see. In case you didn't know, the IRS is not very popular. The IRS, I assume, is the second least popular organization in the government. Oddly enough, it's not the first. Apparently, the EPA is. EPA, of course, being the Environmental Protection Agency, very unpopular, very overreaching, just very terrible. But the IRS is also very unpopular. Nobody likes the IRS, mostly because people don't like having their money stolen. The thing is, despite the unpopularity of the IRS, for some reason people still think that we need it. I guess people like having their money stolen. I'm not sure why, but nevertheless, people still use the IRS, and the IRS is still a thing. And even though there have been people who have promised to abolish the IRS, that's totally unrealistic. And the only way you could do that is if you eliminated the entire system as it is now, got rid of the entire tax system in the United States as it exists today, then maybe you can consider getting rid of the IRS. Highly unrealistic. Anyone who promises to abolish the IRS is a liar, or thinks unrealistically, or is not connected to the real world. You cannot just abolish the IRS and keep the rest of government too. It doesn't work that way. There's got to be revenue collections somehow, or else the whole thing collapses. Now, that's good. Maybe their plan is for that, but it's probably not. So any politician who says, I'm going to abolish the IRS, probably is not going to, because it's unrealistic. The IRS's estimate of tax records having been stolen, though, has soared to over 300,000. So why are we supposed to trust them again? I don't know. So more than 3 months after the Internal Revenue Service shut down its online tax transcript service, that's a toughie, because of a massive identity theft effort, the IRS is now acknowledging that the number of affected taxpayers is more than 3 times the agency's initial estimate. And the number of affected taxpayers may continue to grow as the agency digs into logs of hundreds of thousands of connections to get its transcript application over the past year. Today, the agency announced that there were in total more than 600,000 suspicious attempts made to create user accounts on the transcript system using what appears to be stolen personal identifying information from recent credit card breaches and other corporate hacks. More than 300,000 of those attempts actually succeeded. So why are we supposed to trust them again? Oh, right, because we need them. That's the narrative anyway. We need them. Otherwise, there wouldn't be like roads or like a standing army or like senators getting paid tons of money. We need the IRS for these things after all. So you can get the transcript with a web application that's provided online for all taxpayers. So I don't get one, but tax transactions and stuff are providing enough information for the submission of actual fraudulent tax returns, which would be every tax return, but whatever, to obtain refunds or for more elaborate fraud, including applying for all manner of credit. Obtaining an account to view transcript data required only knowing the name. Now get this, the name, the birth date, Social Security number, and tax filing status, all of which could be easily obtained by any skilled social engineer. So really, this is very, very insecure. We think all the time, oh, well, you know, they need my Social Security number. There's no way they'll get that. No, there's a way. There's a book that you should definitely check out if you're interested in social engineering and just how stupid easy it is to get people's info. The Art of Deception by Kevin Mitnick is a wonderful book if you're interested in social engineering, how it works, how to pry people to get them to do what you want them to do. Totally unethical. That's the entire point of the book, is that you should never do this, but here's how to do it anyway if you ever encounter someone who's trying to use it against you. It's stupid easy to get people to give you information, especially if they think that you work for a higher up. So it's not that hard to get people's Social Security numbers. I mean, people leave them lying around and don't even realize it. So the best solution is, of course, to just not have a Social Security number, but good luck convincing people of that one. Well, anyway, you can use the Social Security number, your birth date, your address, and your current name, probably your maiden name or whatever, too, in order to obtain this tax return information, which can then be used to actually get a return, which can then be intercepted by any skilled hacker. So, yeah. Originally, the IRS believed that only 200,000 attempts were made to get transcript accounts using a scripted attack from suspicious internet addresses, of which the agency thought about 100,000 were successful. Still, that's 100,000 people. That's a lot, and that's a lot of money, too. So why are we standing for this? Well, because we need the IRS, I guess. However, it is still possible to obtain tax transcripts through the mail by sending a letter with a Social Security number, date of birth, and address from a most recent tax return. So fraud does remain possible using stolen data, albeit at snail mail rates. And plus, because you'd be trusting the USPS at that point, you can expect to get your return in maybe 3-4 months. So IRS officials said that credit protection would be offered to taxpayers whose accounts were exposed. According to Ars Technica, the full brunt of the attack may not have been felt yet. While several thousand fraudulent tax returns were filed for the year 2015, officials say that they actually believe the attackers are gathering data for the 2016 tax season. So remember, they say file early, or don't, or not at all, or file late, or do whatever you want, because I don't really care. The problem is, our tax system is not secure at all. In fact, nothing is secure. We've been duped, not very well, into believing that our government is actually secure and safe and handles our paperwork well. But that's actually kind of a joke. It's a very elaborate one. And I'm starting to become convinced that the entire governmental system, which we have, the entire system of the state, is actually one big, elaborate performance art that's been going on for many generations. And at some point, we'll get the punchline, and then everyone will laugh, and we'll all go have beer together, and there'll be no drinking age, and it'll be great. Unfortunately, that day has not yet come, and we still think that the government is for real, and the state is a serious thing. So until we realize that it's all a joke, we still have to live with the ramifications of having it. One of those ramifications is money gets stolen from us basically every year on schedule. And until that stops, it's not going to stop. Until that stops, it's still there. People are still giving their hard-earned money voluntarily for some reason to the government. And I don't know why we're standing for that. Sorry, I'm tapping my pen against the desk for dramatic effect. I'm a little drummer boy over here. Gosh, it drives me nuts how people will just buy into the whole thing and say, well, we need it to support our military so they can go invade other countries, and we need these systems so that we can have senators who are overpaid and we can have a corrupt system, and it's good. No, it's not good. There's nothing good about it. And until we realize that, we're just going to be stuck with it. You see, that's the thing that people don't realize, is that we have all the power. We, us people have all the power in the world. And none of these leaders and all these politicians, they have no bearing. We only let them have bearing because we let them. We're kind of lazy. And I'm true of that too. I mean, that's true for me too. I'm a lazy guy. I want to sit back. I want to watch Netflix. I want to just chill with my friends. I don't want to have to worry about the whole, police state, military industrial complex. I don't want to have to worry about that. But sometimes you got to take responsibility and actually worry about things which are pressing. And until then, we'll have people like Diane Banker, Margaret Thatcher, Feinstein, the dragon lady with no heart, who's going to be oppressing us with different regulations and rule and all sorts of different things that are just going to ruin our lives until we realize that we don't actually need it. That's the thing. You have to pardon my allergies, by the way. They've been getting to me. And if you hear odd sort of crunching noises, that's actually probably me, because allergies for some reason have been picking up very badly lately. So if you're going to be driving out on the roads, notice that the conditions are pretty awful. Looking at the weather, it's not looking much better for the rest of our week here in the Chattanooga area. So the rest of the week is going to be extremely rainy. It's unfortunately going to be extremely humid as well. So we're going to have humid temperatures, or humid conditions with temperatures in the 80s for the rest of our week here in the Chattanooga area. But the thing that we can take away from all this is we can enjoy ourselves whether we have the state or not. And it's still, we live in pretty good conditions. But again, we have all the power, and that's something that has to be realized. And until we do, we're going to be stuck with what we have.
So this song is dedicated to Diane Banker, Margaret Thatcher, Feinstein, the dragon lady with no heart.
Until we realize it, we're stuck with the system we got. So until we rise up and take power into our own hands, here we are. This is Digital Drive. I'm your host, Russell, right here on Hot News Talk Radio.
This is a mob mode. This is the mob mode.